And
You're about even with the hook point with your thread down there?
I am at this point, and you know, you'll see old books that give you a lot of diagrams about all. You can't pay any attention to them because everybody's going their own way on hook design. That'll work on some books and not others. So you got to eyeball it. The hook people are driving us crazy. I'd like to kill them all. I really would.
What kind of hooks are these?
These are Daiichi. This is a model 2161. It's kind of a nice little hook. I like it.
Looks a lot like the Bartlett.
It's a kind of, yeah, except it doesn't have that weird point on it, which I don't like the Bartlett point. I know what the guy was trying to do, but he got carried away.
Do you think that offset in that hook helps the way that's curved to set the hook?
I don't see any offset in there.
I mean in terms of the way.
Oh, the curved part?
Yeah.
I just wanted to be,
You
that's
don't
some
think
jab
makes any
thinking he's being classical, you know?
Yeah.
Now, what I've done here is I've tied this on, and I'm binding it to the back of the hook. This is a concession to aesthetics. Somebody looks at the hook from the other side, then that's a concession to non-aesthetics. And I'm going to carefully wrap so I don't have any over wraps or anything. And you guys, anybody that can't see, get up and come around behind me, okay? While I'm doing this sort of stuff, please. It's a lot easier to watch this stuff from the fly tier's point of view. Okay, see where I am right now? I'm going to take 2 or 3 turns, and no more than that. The first turn is actually on bare hook, and then you work up onto the thread wrap that you made. There's 2, and there's 3. And that's your tag, okay? Now,
When you started, were you on the side or the top of the hook with your initial rep?
this here?
Yeah.
Well, wherever it comes out.
Wherever it comes
You'll
out.
be on the back side if you tie this on, right? See how I went down the back side of the
Yeah,
hook when I tied it
okay.
on? That's just to keep it off the top. It makes it look better, and, you know, the thing generally works a little bit better. Now, we're gonna have a butt on this fly, and the butt is a very handy thing, because it buries all the crap you do at the back of the hook, okay? And gets you back, you pass go, collect your $200, and you get a bare hook to work on. So I'm gonna cut this thing off, estimating where the butt's gonna fall, so it's gonna bury the end of that. These are all little tricks you do. Tying salmon flies like shooting pool. You know, you think 3 or 4 shots ahead. I can't do that in pool, but I can do it with salmon flies. Now we bring our thread back up here to about where we're going to mount the tail, guessing at that proportion. And I'm going to find myself a couple of little golden pheasant crests. And the trouble is the little ones are always the ones that are the crookedest. But we'll find a couple that will work in here. The reason I use 2 is, first of all, to get enough back there to make the tail visible. And secondly, when you have the 2 stems laying alongside each other, they kind of support each other. It keeps it in an upright attitude. So we even up the tips like that, okay? Then I take them and I get rid of all this junk here. You just pull it off either side like that. You get rid of the shorties. You're holding it out by the tip now. And if these bother you, you can cut them right off. What I then do is just a little personalized dubbing wax like that. Oh, wait a minute. What the hell am I doing? I forgot to put the tag on. We gotta put the,
Yellow floss.
okay, well, I'm ready for the tail now. This should be skinny, so I'm just gonna use 1 strand, like this. Now, the way I mount floss or tinsel is this. I hold it with those fingers, bring it up like that, and use the middle finger to hold it in place, and it's simply a matter of bringing the thread up and you got it. Makes it very easy to mount that, okay? Now, don't worry about how many wraps you use here, all right? Secure it well so it doesn't slip. I'll show you why in a moment. And now you're going to wrap neatly, letting it flatten, but being contiguous towards the rear. Now, as you can see, the purpose of that little butt of tinsel at the back isn't so much for the flash it's going to give the fly, but it's a floss check. Because if you don't do that, your floss falls off the ass of the hook as you cast, okay? You'll find out that as you go through these flies, there's a lot of impractical little frivolities. But you'll also find out that some of these things that you just think, well, why do you put that there? Actually have a functional purpose. Now, remember I said don't worry about how many wraps you take? When you get here, you take them off, see? Anything that you've overwrapped, such as floss and tinsel, in order to keep things skinny and neat, you can always take off the wraps you used to tie on once you've overwrapped, okay? So I've done that. Now, you don't have to, it doesn't make any difference on some operations, but it gives you that option so you can keep everything. The idea here is you've got a lot of operations on the salmon fly. And as you work into it, if you can reduce bulk, that's always a good idea. Okay. Now we're ready for the tail. I think I got enough thread base on there. A little curvature here is nice, but not too much. If you get those that really hook like that, they're hard to work with and they don't fish well either. Now I'm putting those right precisely on top with a little pinch move there. I'm going to bind them down, working towards the rear.
You try to stay in white area
On the thread?
tippet.
Not
the tail.
for the tails, but when we put a tippet for a crest, then we will stay in the white area, and I'll show you all about that, okay?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I notice sometimes working with this, you have every one of the fibers that are on this pinched in here.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I've noticed that when I try to don't do that, sometimes when you wrap it on, you get the ones behind that will
Yeah.
flare. But that's what you,
Oh.
you got every one trapped underneath there that's on that.
Well, and only the long ones.
And only
See, they
the
all
long
go out
ones.
to here. See, I got rid of everything else,
Yeah, you
because
got
the ones that are gonna
everything.
flare are usually the shorties.
Yeah.
Because you're catching them out near the tip, and they have a tendency to flare when you do that.
And
By the way, let me tell you another thing. If you're gonna put a tail veiling on a fly, don't work quite all the way back with the thread yet, because then you create too much of a bump back there. And this fly does have a tail veiling. I consider it optional, but we're gonna use it. Unfortunately, the guy that was supposed to send me some more blue kingfisher, it didn't reach me. So I got enough here for our tail veilings, but when we get to the cheeks, I'm gonna ask you to use a substitute. Now, we're just gonna pick one of these little guys here. You probably have all seen the bird this comes off of, if you've tied any salmon flies at all. These are right from the small of the bird's back. There's these gorgeous little iridescent feathers.
Is it English jay or something?
No, these are blue kingfisher. They're an Asian bird, and they're legal. Blue chatterer is not legal. That was the original feather that we used, and I think these are just as pretty, but they're a little lighter in color. These are not blue chatterer, they're blue kingfisher. You wet it so it looks like that, okay? And the shiny side goes up, even though it doesn't want to curve that way, you make it do it. And what you have to do to make this work is to get down into the dark part a little bit and tie it on there, otherwise it flares all over the place. Okay, so it sits like that, see? That's your tail veiling. Now we'll work back a little bit and forward a little bit to secure that. Okay, and the next thing you do is you're going to go in there and you're going to chop off all of these very carefully so you don't cut your thread. I hope I don't cut my thread. Okay? And now the butt. Now, I like butts that use dubbing, because when you get through dubbing, you're back to bare thread again and bare hook. And everything you've done up to now is secured, but you have no bulk to worry about. And you start fresh. And you don't need a very big one. Now, another thing about the butt, okay? This stuff is nice and soft and forgiving. And if your tail is flared a little bit, or if you're worried about that whole assembly coming out unified, if you have left yourself just a little room where you didn't wrap thread, use the butt material, because it's so much more forgiving.
What material are you using for that button?
That's just a little soft red rabbit fur, is all it is. That, you know, just picked out of the rabbit. Okay, so there's your tip tag assembly, tail veiling, and butt. Okay, guys, now you. Everybody tie on where I tie.
Everybody catch up.
Yeah.
Looks easy to me.
We're gonna pass around, first of all, oval tinsel.
What do we need, about 3 or 4 inches? Put them on.
Yeah, take a piece about 4 inches long. I'll just, I'm gonna take a big long one and start it this way, another long one, start it that way, you all cut yourself off on it, okay? About 4 inches is all you're gonna need.
Got enough room, Sam?
Yep.
There you go.
There you go, Gary. 4
And,
inches and pass.
Well, work on it, it look nice.
Should I cut that off now?
Why don't you wait and cut off everything just before you put the butt on?
No, Lizzie.
I look like I'm anywhere close to where I'm supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. I think you ran a little bit, nah, you're about in the right place. Okay. I would put just a few more wraps of thread back and forth there to make sure that thing's gonna stay in place. The hook near the front. Because the mylar we're gonna use for the flat tinsel is very unforgiving. It's thin and soft, and it has what we call read-through, okay? Now, you know what I love to do, if I can, is make that thing lay over on this side of the hook so it kind of abuts with that return wire.
Yeah.
It kind of forms a contiguous assembly there. Sometimes that's hard to do, but it kind of did it all by itself this time. Very nice. Now, we don't need to leave very much room up front because A, we don't have a married wing, and B, we're not making a wrapped hackle here. So we had a couple of steps. The classicists tell you you must have exactly 5 turns, no more, no less. It's all bullshit. So don't worry about it, but I'll probably come out with 5.
About practice.
There was a reason for 5 on the old flies. A lot of them had body hackles on them, and that was the most turns they could get out of those crappy quality hackles they had. In fact, they couldn't even get that. Lots of times you didn't start the hackle till the 2nd or 3rd turn. It would say that in your instructions. Now, I'm trying to get my scissors down into off the tips there to cut that stuff. It's not good to use the tips of your scissors to cut that kind of stuff with. All right, now at this point, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a quick whip finish knot and get rid of my white thread. Some of you may have noticed I was using spider web thread. Nobody called me on that. But if you really want
Was
to...
that an 8-0 or less?
It's about a 18-0.
18.
Midge thread.
Well, as a matter of fact, what I'm switching to now is 8-0 unit thread. That's stuff.
Yeah, 'cause you were recommending unit thread in your...
Is the Orbis thread that same?
It's
Is
the
that-
same damn stuff.
Okay, that's what I
He
was
sold them
wondering.
so much, he allowed them to put their name on it.
Okay. Because I bought some of that.
PAC
this year, and
pack
That was
also.
such a difference. It's so nice. You know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is great stuff. See, this thread is Dacron. It is not nylon, and it doesn't do all the funny things. It reminds me of the old silk we started out with, except it doesn't have the shelf life problems, you know? But 8-0 thread, that stuff is so strong I can spin deer hair with it, and do. Now we're going to make a little bearded hackle. I got some nice soft, what we call slopping feathers here, which are feathers mounted near the ass end of the rooster, right in front of the tail feathers, okay? And these make nice bearded hackles. They're soft, they have great action in the water. And the way I like to do this is go to one side, and I like to stroke the fibers out so that the tips come together like that. Now I'm holding it at about a 90-degree angle from the quill, all right? I'm going to go in there, and cut them off. You can pull them off if you want. The only trouble is sometimes you disturb them in the process. And just bunch them like this. Lay them up under here. Not quite as long as back to the butt. Back to about the 2nd wrap of tinsel is a pretty good length, okay? Come straight up.
That'd
Here's
be
your beard.
applicable on shorter shank hooks.
Well, you kind of, on a shorter shank hook, you probably want it even a little bit shorter than that. You do have to proportion your flies to the hook you're using, and there seems to be, especially in salmon flies, absolutely no standardization. It's getting really ridiculous. Everybody's deciding what the hell a hook is supposed to be. Especially the Japs who have never even fished or tied a goddamn fly, and you know, they're making these things any old way.
How
Their
do you
quality
feel
is
about
great, but their design is weird, you know? So why don't I give John a long piece here? You're gonna need about a 4-inch hunk, you know?
About 4 inches.
Yeah. There's enough for a whole bunch of 4-inch hunks right there.
Right. I was catching up. You took the old.
Your line was laid flat.
Oh, earrings?
I tried to let it hang back. Now someplace I got to peel it back, these guys are in some ways.
Folks might too far back.
Put it back in here. Just try to leave that door ajar, or is it already closed?
No.
Okay.
Overwhelmed now.
Is that locked again? Confidence.
Yeah, keep swinging closed. I'm gonna put something down the bottom of it to keep it open. this stuff here we're all done with, so we just do that. And she was still trying to find silk thread. You know, Dick, you know, it's such a problem, you know. And I said, Helen, just let me give you 2 spools. Because she ties with her fingers, and she says, I don't like that. I was trying to separate that nylon. That doesn't feel right. She tried this stuff, and God, she called me up on the phone. I thought that she was going to go into rapture. And
Shangri-La.
so then I took her some rayon floss, and she loved that too. And she gave me a couple of Florican bustard feathers, which are highly illegal.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, I might tell all of you guys, I understand that in the next issue of Fly Rod and Reel, there's going to be an article by the other Ted Williams, not the ball player, about classic salmon fly materials. And I understand it's taken a crack at some of the black marketeers that are out there. At this point, I want to look at it and I want to say, you know, is that a little bit raggy? Do I need to correct it at all? Do I need to trim it? And maybe just a hair, but not much. I'm taking the curved scissors, I just might correct that just one little bit at a time, like that. Now, with mine, with an underwing, see, I gotta release the pressure with the bottoms of my fingers so the cup opens up, and I can sit it over the top like this, see? That's nasty going, believe me.
Yeah.
Okay? You gotta make sure you got it uniform on both sides. Once I have, I'm going to sneak the thread up over there between my fingers and pinch control as I come down, okay? I like to pull my thread slightly towards the rear like this because that helps keep the wing from cocking up. And don't pinch so tight that it can't move, but still keep control on both sides. And it's especially important you have this finger locked tightly against the back of the hook so you don't slide that wing down over the shoulder of the fly. And we're going to repeat that 3 or 4 times. I'm going to say a couple Hail Marys. I'm going to let go. And he's riding up a little bit, but I can fix that. I'm not worried about that. And that went on pretty good. It went on pretty good. As long as he's centered and all of that stuff, I can lay him down with a couple of discreet thread wraps to the rear. I can pinched in there like that.
And you're wrapping toward the rear now.
Yeah. That's what that underwing tends to do, and that's why I thought maybe you guys for the first time through might not like to work with that. But that guy came out good. I kind of, he didn't sit too good. I can work him down a little bit further yet as I go. And he looks good on either side. He's fairly well centered. I will correct him just a little bit. All right? So that's what you're going to do. It's just like the Nighthawk, except you got 4 fibers instead of
Film here. Saying it was a slide.
Yeah, we're gonna make a few little downstream corrections here. All right, this is an old
That's what you call cheating.
Yes, that's right. Oh my God, so I feel awkward.
Well, you're still doing it right
You
hand.
don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I am, aren't I?
You can do it.
This could be a
I'm gonna
first.
back up on top of there, boy.
This could be a magazine article here.
Oh, I felt that somebody's right.
Feather wing salmon flies, left-handed.
That's what I thought. That's right. Must be the vice.
The left-handed marriage.
Sometimes you have to switch hands.
I lost that far one. I didn't do too bad, but I lost that far one. That came unmarried
Oh,
out.
hell, I did that good.
In that case, you should have quit while you was there. No, that's not bad for the first time, by Jesus. Oh, we're 10 minutes to 3 or something like that?
That'll work.
Yeah.
Okay, because
I'd
I'd like to,
lunch.
I'd like to work it through.
Finish up before lunch.
Well, that's right, we haven't even had lunch, have we?
Well, if we stop for lunch, we're in
1:30.
trouble.
If we stop for lunch, the class is
You
over.
wanna get through.
Unless you guys want to stop right now and call it a class, but I'm perfectly willing to do the Highlander, but we would have to make lunch very quick. But I'm willing to work a little later in the day, it's just I realize you guys want to get home and you get ready for the banquet. Dubbing on top of dubbing that's already sprung loose from the thread. The thing is you put on a really, really little bit and go ahead and wrap it. And leave about that much sticking out, so you integrate it with it, and then you put some more on. So I'm gonna let you guys use this stuff here. This is easier. This is a goat, not a goat, yeah. You gotta pass out some goat. Good old goat.
I got some good, yeah.
You want you, go ahead and use that. That's good.
That's a goat.
Yeah, run some of that around, give
You had the
everybody,
goat bacon?
get enough for about 8 flies there.
Cheap, cheap.
Right. Cheap.
There's one cheap one. I'm not gonna get 8 out
Actually,
of
some of
here.
the synthetics are the best, but I didn't have
Yeah, give me some of your
any
goat.
left in the color that I liked.
Thank you, Dad.
Now, remember what I
It's nice
tell
to
you,
get
it's the
him.
same as with this as with the seal, all right? Put it on a tiny little bit at a time.
Now, oh, you,
I cheated them all, I'm gonna cut the damn window. Won't be any wing.
how many times you taken it apart now?
That's 3.
You and Carl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I still
can't
got
get
the
this
damn
thing
thing too large. Leave it alone.
I believe I will. Let well enough alone.
Tie it down, trim it off.
That makes me so mad, you know?
These look straight back here, Dick.
Yeah, they might be okay.
I don't know.
Now, this will work. This is, see, this is twisted down in here, but it's not gonna use that.
You
So
can
see, that'll
start
work
from
right in there, yeah.
Okay. Gary?
Yeah, work right in that area there. See,
You see where I'm holding it? That's where he said it'll work there.
Gotcha. Here's
Excuse me, Carl.
Zap-A-Gat and toothpick. This will not work with head cement. You gotta have the real McCoy here. Or something comparable, and I'm sure there are other very good glues that will work.
Parmesan.
Dun, 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 dun. Ooh, man.